Hey y'all, and welcome to Geospatial Experiences. I'm your host, Melissa Mayo, and I'm an Esri engineer on the product team. This podcast focuses on the application of geographic information. Let's go on a journey together with some of my amazing coworkers, along with Esri customers, partners, and distributors who are doing really cool work in the field of GIS. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Geospatial Experiences. We're going down under for today's interview. That's right, we have Australia on the podcast today. My guest is just awesome. I can't wait for you guys to meet him. I'm joined by Powerline Safety Advocate from Energy Queensland, Glen Cook, also known as Cookie. Welcome to the podcast, Cookie.
Oh, thanks, Melissa. I'm happy to be here.
I'm so excited. I can't thank you enough for joining me today. This is going to be just such a good chat. We have some really important topics that you're going to cover. And I just can't wait for the listeners to hear what you have to say. So if you're ready, we'll dive in. We'll get going.
No dramas, mate. From the future. It's actually Friday morning here, about 7 a.m. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, no, it's great to be here. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think it's super fun that I get to talk to the future with you.
That's it, yeah. See what's happening in the future. I can give you all the good hockey scores and the football scores, if you like, basketball.
Absolutely.
maybe
Absolutely.
some maybe some lotto numbers as well.
I must do the lotto numbers. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, Cookie, we'll just start it like we always start it with, tell me about your journey. How did you find your way to being the spokesperson for this major safety application and messaging campaign? How did you get here?
Oh, look, I suppose, yeah, just quickly a little bit about myself. I've been an electrician for, over 30 years. The bulk of my time was, climbing poles and digging holes and putting power lines back up. But I end up being an electrical inspector, which basically means I've done a lot of shock investigations. So from, someone getting a shock from a tap inside their home to people doing illegal wiring, people getting in trouble in ceiling spaces or attics, as you used to call them, to people accidentally contacting overhead power lines. So, unfortunately, part of that role, I had to investigate fatalities as well. So, like, I never ever thought that I'd be in safety, right? I was not the safest guy on the tools either. I'm a male. I take risks, and I moved from a place called Cairns up in far north Queensland on the east coast of Australia to a town fair bit south in Hervey Bay. And one of the first jobs that I had to do was a fatality involving a worker in an elevated work platform who accidentally contacted an overhead power line, 11,000 volt power line, and was killed. And it happened in front of a schoolyard full of children at lunchtime.
Oh
So
my God.
it really sort of affected me in the fact that I've gone, I've been to too many of these, number one, and, why don't people understand that if you get too close to these things, they're going to kill you, right?
Mhm.
And I quickly realized that it happened a lot more than what I thought, than what I'd seen. And I got approached by our safety team in our business, and they said, you should come across and work for us in safety and tell your story. And I'm like thinking to myself, no one likes the safety guy. I'm not going over there. I said, I really like being an electrician. I love mentoring young tradesmen coming through and apprentices and passing on the knowledge that I'd learned from my mentors, and make things worse. And they're trying to convince me to do the job. And we make up silly names for positions, right? They said, "Oh, Rob, what's the position name that you want to bring me across on?" And they said, "Oh, community health and safety advisor." And I sort of thought to myself, I said, "That sounds like you're handing condoms out at the hospital." No, no, thanks. I'm gonna I'm gonna stick with what I know. I think, and obviously, they did convince me. I decided to give it a bit of a go, and yeah, I quickly realised that in Queensland, the state that I live in, three people will accidentally hit a power line every single day. And in Australia, we have 10 people a day hit power lines, right?
Mhm.
So you can imagine how often it actually happens in the US or North America. So, like, we've got 10th of the size of the population, plus nowhere near as many power lines as well. So I've done a little bit of research, and in the US, it might be a surprise to most of you on this podcast, but there are two fatalities every single week in the US where someone hits an overhead power line as a non-electrical worker, so with a crane or elevated work platform or a piece of agricultural equipment. It happens so much, right? But anyway, look, back to the question, I suppose. I was basically given this role, and my employer basically says, we don't really know what we want you to do, but we want you to basically work it out. And I quickly sort of realized I needed to be an advocate for all these different industries, such as, aviation, agriculture, construction. I need to understand the equipment that they're using, the hazards and issues they've got on their job sites, as well as power lines. What can we do to help them, in the end, plan their work better? Because people at power lines, because they don't have a very good plan. So, and yeah, that's how I sort of got here from, being an electrician to, and I quickly sort of found that I did enjoy the job because, one of the roles was, I have to do public speaking. And I'm thinking to myself, that's the first thing I'm going to try and get out of, right? Because I'm like, I'm not going to get up and public speak. And the first one I did, I still remember it. I thought I did an all right job. I played a lot of videos, and I had guys coming up to me afterwards going, "That was awesome. I think you might have saved my life." And I've never heard anyone talk like that. And I was like, "Really?" It's like, I didn't think that it was that special. But even this week, I went up to a little town called Tully in far north Queensland, and I had a guy come up to me afterwards, and he said to me, and I quote, "Cookie, that is the best one of these things I've ever been to." And he goes, "I think you might have saved a lot of lives here today." And that I just said thanks. That sort of feedback just keeps me going, knowing that I'm there sort of pouring my heart out for an hour and telling them about the fatalities that I've seen, and putting safety in simple terms so people can walk away and put safety in their hands and do some things to help them not contact overhead power lines.
So would you say that your opinions about public speaking have shifted? It seems like you're so good
Oh,
at it. I've seen you speak in public. We met when you were over here in the States at MGIS, I guess it was, or maybe it was called Geoconics then. I can't remember. But you did a great job. You were a great public speaker.
oh, that's by far the largest crowd I've had to speak to. Like I couldn't even see anybody. But yeah, I think on that day there might have been 1,600 people, something like that. Yeah, by far the largest crowd or largest conference that I've ever spoken at. Really appreciate Esri bringing me across to do that as well. But yeah, no, I quickly realised that public speaking was my forte. Uh,
Mhm.
I actually took one of my sons with me. Well, both of my sons have seen me do talks recently, and my youngest son dubs me the talk man. I said, "Oh, what do you want to do when you grow up?" And he goes, "Well, I'm not going to be the talk man like you." Well,
I
makes us
love that.
laugh. And then my eldest son seen me do a talk, and he just sort of looked at me and said, "How did you do that?" I said, "Oh, well,
Mhm.
it's not like giving a book report on a book you never read, right? I'm basically relaying my story, talking about my career and the incidents that I've seen and what I've learnt about humans and workers that are near power lines and why they hit power lines." So,
So what do you think has been the most effective ways to communicate your story? We love your engagement, but how do you feel and what do you feel really hits home the best when you're doing the talks and when you're
it's
speaking to public?
it's storytelling, right? So I quickly sort of realized that people wanted to hear the stories. So us humans, that's how we communicate from, years gone by before social media and all the rest of it. We used to communicate by telling stories to each other, right? And then we relay those stories. So just going back to that. And like I said, I quickly realized that people wanted to hear the stories and the learnings from the incidents that I'd seen. And yeah, I just relay those stories, and I quickly realised that in that engagement process, that people were telling me the same story back pretty much every single time. People would say to me, "Yeah, look, I hit a power line once." I said, "Oh, tell me about it. Tell me what happened." And they're all pretty much the same. They all say they 100% knew the power line was there. They just didn't see it until they hit it, right? And then I started talking to a lot of pilots, and then a lot of the pilots are very in tune with their training and stuff around a thing called inattentional blindness. So inattentional blindness is at one point in time when your brain doesn't perceive a risk or a hazard because you're concentrating on something else. So I quickly realized that this inattentional blindness was happening to, workers on machinery, cranes, agricultural equipment, elevated work platforms. People are concentrating on what they're doing and they don't see a very inherent danger in power lines because your brain's constantly conserving energy and it wants to blot stuff out. And like if you think about it, when last time you left the house, if you go shopping or take the kids to school or whatever, if you think about how many power lines you've seen, you're going to sit there and go, how does Cookie know I didn't see any power lines, right? But like I go on holidays and all I do is take photos of power lines, right? I'm a bit weird, I suppose, but I see them because, I just recently went to Canada. All I did was came back with lots of power lines from Canada, right? Because they're a little bit different to what I normally see. But most people just get used to the power lines and your brain trains you to go, you don't need to worry about those power lines. They're out of your reach. But once, workers start work and you're in a larger machine or extendable saws, ladders, all of a sudden you can reach the power lines, but your brain blots them out. Yeah, it's called inattentional blindness. It's just a human factor, right? It's a human factor, and it's why, we have so many car accidents, for example. You're concentrating on something else, you lose concentration. People run into each other, even though you can see them. People drive in intersections and they're looking right at cars, but they might be looking at the truck behind the car, for example. Or for a really good example is motorbikes and cyclists. All right, you come to a T intersection, you look left and right, you're actually looking for cars or trucks or buses, and you miss the person on a bike. That's another form of inattentional blindness.
I was just about to comment and say that it feels like the inattentional blindness can be applied in so many different areas. We used to do a lot when I was at the power company. We did a lot of safety training, and they would talk about things. I don't remember that term being used in particular, but they would talk about the things kind of like with the motorcyclists or the bicycles, and missing those because you're looking at other things, and not paying attention to all the things that are going on because you're so focused on, I'm trying to make this turn, but you're not seeing the kid running out in the street chasing the ball or whatever it is. So
Absolutely.
we were tracking together, Cookie.
Yeah. Well, there's a video I use, so in my face-to-face talks that I do. So it's not just me convincing everybody that I'm right. Okay, look, I'm going to show you this video. I call it an awareness test. I want to see how awares are, and I put this video up, and it's basically there's a few different videos around like this, but it's a group of people passing a basketball to each other. There's a team of black and a team of white, and basically says how many passes does the team of white make. So people count the passes. While they're passing, a bloke in a bear suit goes through and moonwalks through the group. And no one sees the bear because they're concentrating on the passes. And then we replay it and they go, wow, okay, yeah. And then, they've convinced themselves that what I was saying was correct in the fact that you will not see power lines even though they're in plain sight. So it changes I suppose, the behaviors or the understanding of the group straight away to go, I reckon we need to listen to Cookie here. He might have some good points. So, yeah.
So have you gotten and been asked to speak for other types of organizations? Because it seems like the public safety factor and the messaging that you're giving is so applicable across the board. It's a really difficult story to tell, and you do it really well. So I'm just wondering if you're getting requests and asks from people in lots of different areas.
Oh, absolutely. Like I've been doing this for 12 years now, and it's funny. You sort of go and sell yourself, but power line safety, it's not sexy, right? So especially when you're up against, other things that are on the top of people's minds, like mental health, for example. Like you'll go to a conference and a mental health advocate's got 2 hours to talk. And then the power line safety guy gets up and, you got 20 minutes. And I'm like, it's hard to get my message across in 20 minutes, right? So when you get those opportunities and people see you speak, it just creates more and more speaking opportunities for myself. So I was basically I do one talk. It usually generates between 5 and 10 more, just from the fact that people, don't really think that power line safety is going to be a real interesting subject. And then I sort of make it interesting by telling a few different stories and, yeah, convincing people to change just a few simple um, controls to put in place to make it easier for people to actually see the power lines and identify that they're there and adequately plan near power lines. So.
I want to back up for just a second, Cookie, and talk to you about your time as an electrician. What got you started in the electrical space? My uncle's an electrician, so I kind of know how he found his way into it. But how did you get there? And do you miss working with the crews in that one-on-one capacity?
Yeah, no, it's definitely like I basically finished school and I didn't really want to go to university at that point in time. My parents wanted me to go, but I just felt like I wanted to start work and make some money. Um, yeah, I put in for electrical apprenticeship and got it, and yes, started work. And like I said, I had very good tradespeople and mentors bringing me through, and yeah, managed to get into some good roles. And look, I've done lots of disasters, cyclones or hurricanes, as you used to call them. So a lot of different work in those spaces. And then, one thing I do really miss is camaraderie with the guys, because I've gone from working with two-man teams a lot to four and bigger teams as well, to traveling the world by myself.
Mhm.
So I try to keep people engaged with myself. So I do have a LinkedIn profile if anyone wants to have a look. I'm under Cookie on LinkedIn. I do have like a Facebook page and some Instagram. Like on Instagram, I'm like, where is Cookie this week? Because I'm just everywhere. I'm all over our state. I'm all over our country, and then obviously I've been to the US and New Zealand a couple of times. So I have a few people sort of follow me there. It just sort of keeps me interested. When I'm lonely, I sort of take a few photos and go, who can guess where I am this week? So yeah, it's pretty cool.
I saw some of your posts like that. I thought they were super fun. I feel like I'm that way too because I travel a little bit too. So it's kind of like, where's Mel this week? Especially with my family, I'll send proof of life pictures back and go, "Where's Melissa?"
Yeah, that's it. Oh,
Exactly.
and it just sort of keeps you a little bit connected. But yeah, sometimes it's some of the loneliest places in the world are in the middle of a big city somewhere where you just don't know anybody, right? So
Mhm.
I find when I go to more remote locations and small country towns in Queensland, people are more will talk to you. Like even just go to the local pub and sit down to have a beer to have a feed, and people will ask you about where you are, where you're from, and I might have my look up and live shirt on with my little logo on it. And they go,
Mhm.
"What's that all about?" Next thing you're doing work till 9 o'clock at night, having dinner with somebody else, and telling them all about Powerline Safety and the Look Up and Live app. So yeah.
Well, and sometimes those places are the friendliest too. When you
Oh,
walk,
absolutely. Yeah,
walk in and sit down and start chit chatting with somebody like that, you make friends you never knew you needed, Cookie.
yeah, that's right.
Mhm.
Yes.
So let's talk about emergency management a little bit. You brought it up, and the listeners who have listened to episodes before know that I have a background in it, so I'm going to zero in on that every time. But you mentioned your disaster response. So can we talk about that a little bit? Do you want to go into any of the responses that you've worked, or any details about any of them that would be good to
Oh,
share?
look, I suppose part of the reason I actually moved from Far North Queensland was just we were just getting hit by cyclone year after year for a few years there, and we
Mhm.
went through a big one called Cyclone Larry, and I just had my young son. He was only 6 months old, and yeah, it was a pretty scary cyclone. So just sort of when I've had enough of this, because I was working so hard, and then next thing you know, everything gets knocked over, and
Mhm.
then I was sort of in metering and shock investigations. So I really didn't have enough resources to continue and get everything done before the next cyclone came in the next year, right? So I got the opportunity to move south, and I thought cyclones really bad. Next thing you know, I'm down in southern Queensland and there's a flood,
Mhm.
and
Oh
next
wow.
I'm working in this flood, and I'm like, floods are so much worse than cyclones, and I thought I knew it all, right? And then I was involved in some bushfires, and I'm like, geez, bushfires are even worse than floods. So, uh, you know, it's sort of different. Like cyclones obviously do a lot of damage to the infrastructure. The floods do more damage to the metering, and there's a lot of work in that respect. And then fire just destroys everything,
Mhm.
and there's nothing left. And you just got to start from scratch. So, yeah, look, my disaster response, I don't really enjoy it much anymore. I'd prefer to be on the front foot and talking to, you know, farmers and construction workers and pilots, and trying to help them plan their work, and yeah, it sort of makes you feel good about it. Like disasters are pretty depressing, to be honest.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It can be. They can be really rewarding too, though, when you get to help people and,
Oh
get
yeah.
things built back for them and put things back right for them. That was always a motivation for me when I was in that space. So, I always like to hear from different people about it, and especially hearing, hearing it from Australia. That's even, even more fun for sure. I remember when Australia was getting hit by or having all of the bushfires a few years ago, and it just seemed super devastating. So much area was being burned up, and I can imagine with, the infrastructure and just everything that goes into play there. It would be really difficult to come back from that, just like the flooding or the cyclones or any of it really.
Oh yeah. Us humans were pretty resilient, though. We keep
Hmm.
rebuilding everything exactly where it was. Oh,
Oh yeah.
I always sort of go back to a Monty Python skit where they always said it was daft to build a castle in the swamp, but they built it all the same.
I'm looking back at my question. So we talked about your journey and your different roles, and so now you're at Energy Queensland, and you're in the safety space, and that is your job now. Do you do other things too, or is that fully your full commitment time?
My role is pretty much a full-time advocate for different industries. So I help
Mhm.
those industries understand what we need to do in Energy Queensland to help them, but also in the reverse to make sure that Energy Queensland understands, the issues that workers in particular have around our power lines. So I suppose we can get into that now. That's why I
Mhm.
developed the Look Up and Live app on Esri's platform, right? So
Tell us
I
about it.
needed, yeah.
Tell us a little
So
more about it.
but basically, doing the presentations, I was getting to near the end, and we have, over here we have what we call Before You Dig Australia, which is basically 811 or one call in the US or Canada. There's obviously plenty of them, but we didn't have anything for overhead. And in the stats that I have, there's 25 overhead power line strikes to one underground. So we hit all the stuff that we can see. So I quickly worked out that people weren't planning to work near overhead power lines. So I sort of said to my boss one day, we'll sort of together in Brisbane, and like we never really get to see each other because he lives in Townsville and I'm in Harvey Bay, and we sort of crisscross the country all the time. I said we're still missing something. I said, I come in and I scare people, and we tell them about power lines, and we talk about the laws and legislation, and we talk about before you dig and getting plans for underground infrastructure, but we need a tool to help people plan their overhead. So I said, we need a Look Up and Live app, and this is just when apps were starting to come out. So, probably 9 years ago, 10 years ago. And yeah, sort of went back to the business and said, look, what I need some way to overlay the power lines onto like Google Maps, and it needs to be public so people can see it. And yeah, I didn't get much support. They're like, oh yeah, well, that's going to be a lot of money. You've got a budget. Anyway, I sort of discussed it with a few, industry people in agriculture and construction, and they're going, yeah, this is what we need. We need something to help us plan. And so I wouldn't sort of give up. And then, I met a very smart bloke, or two smart blokes in our business, Matt Piper, who was then stolen by Esri to go over and work with you guys over there, and Thorsten Horrister over here in he still works for us in Energy Queensland, and these two guys were able to, use the ArcGIS Online program to develop what we needed, and we put all our infrastructure and overlaid it onto a map, and showed people the different voltages of the lines, where the exclusion zones were, the ability to to print out their plans and share with their workers and draw and put text. And it's just everything I needed was in that one out of the box product that we're already paying money for anyway. So I didn't
Mhm.
need a budget, and we developed this really handy tool that we're able to share via a link, attached it to lookupandlive.com, and now everyone had a a way to plan their work around power lines. So getting back to my presentations, I sort of do all that work and explain how dangerous your power lines are, and then I get to a point where I go, and by the way, I've got something that's going to help you. It's a plan, and once I put the maps up on the screen and on the PowerPoints and stuff, and everyone goes, you can see the look on their face, and then they start grabbing their phones and downloading the app and looking at it, and then I was asked the question, pretty handy tool for you guys, and everyone just goes, uh-huh, and how come I didn't know about this, and so it, GIS really, and I didn't really know too much about GIS, but it really opened up my eyes in the fact that it can tell a story and just make people think differently. And in my regard, it changes safety behaviors just like that, right? Instantly by looking at an image and something projected over the top of it, just tells a story and instantly changes safety behaviors, and has done such a great job here in Australia to reduce incidents. So we've seen within the first 2 years, we've seen massive reductions in like 50% reduction in incidents in agriculture and construction. And that was just sharing a simple link with people to start helping them plan. So
I think that's great. It sounds like GIS and technology really kind of, I guess you could say, played a key role in being able to pull this all together and being able to put it in the hands of people that really needed it and would be able to use it.
absolutely,
Mhm.
I mean that was part of the reason why Esri brought me across in 2019 to Atlanta, and I think it was GeoX or something like that.
GeoConnex, GeoConnect.
GeoConnex, yeah. um, because we were pretty much the only company using the software for a safety um, aspect, and making our data public was a big issue for our business. And I'm like, well, it's all overhead. People can see it on Google Maps. It's not a secret. And in any case, we give all our information out with Before You Dig Australia uh, as a plan anyway for the underground stuff. So if we're sharing the stuff that we can't see, why won't we share the stuff that we can see? So um, I was able to win that battle, and then it took a couple of years, but it quickly became pretty much a national product here in Australia. So I've obviously got a big network of other safety advocates that I work with, and other businesses heard about this Look Up and Live app because obviously I've got people working in our state that are national companies, and they're going, how come I can't see the power lines in New South Wales or Victoria or South Australia? Um, so then I had other people saying, can we join? And I'm like, yes, you can join. And oh, how much is that going to cost us? Nothing. If you just give us the data, we'll put it on the map, and yeah, everyone can see it. It's not about making money or anything like that. It's about safety. So yeah, that's sort of how it got. And like I said, it's about 150,000 uses, individual uses every year at the moment, and it's just going up and up and up. And it's been downloaded because we made it into an app as well. So there's over 80,000 downloads on the app at the moment. It was actually, I think, as high as the 35 on the in the App Store. The Apple App Store was 35 in the world for reference apps. So that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. Um, so as you've seen the program kind of evolve and progress and more people are, getting involved, are you seeing those safety numbers changing? Are you seeing a positive swing in the results? Or, I mean, I'm sure just getting it in more and more people's hands is just
I
huge.
think what actually happened was the more that we got it and promoted it, we then were able to promote it internally as well to our own workers. And a lot of our own workers weren't reporting a lot of these incidents because they just go, oh, it's just an accident, you know. I'm like, we need to know about all the accidents. So we sort of got the app out there and did a lot of internal promoting and talking about it and what my role was. And we're saying, no, we need to know every single incident. So what it did was increased our reporting. So our stats started going up, but we knew what it was because we knew that our stats weren't that good anyway. So initially, yeah, we've seen that drop, and that was the larger companies using it, and we've seen a lot of incidents go down. But the smaller incidences, such as hitting low voltage power lines on a say a domestic premise or a house or on a farm, we've seen those go up. So we have seen an increase, and it's sort of flatlined at the moment, but we know what it's from. It's from better reporting. So we have more of an idea what's actually impacting our network these days. Unfortunately, yeah, the stats don't look so good anymore. But I tell you what, I know it's absolutely working, and I know that we've saved lives by using it. So because people tell me, you have workers out there that tell you that this is saving lives, and thank you. So
It sounds like better reporting is resulting in better behaviors ultimately.
it does, yeah, absolutely. So when an incident happens too, our staff, when they go and rectify that damage, can then share. So I've created some stickers that you put on the back of their phones that's got the lookupandlive.com plus a QR code that directs them to the app stores to be able to download it. So instantly they can give businesses and workers, if they weren't aware of it, which they probably weren't if they've hit power lines because they didn't have a plan, right? They go, do you know this is available? And they'll just go, wow. And then I get sort of lots of calls to help people redo or do some training courses with their staff to ensure they know how to operate it. Not that it's that hard, but just know that it's available. You know what I mean? I just really go back to the fact that when we first created it, to get people to trial it, I just sent them a link, right? It didn't even say lookupandlive.com. It was just that long Esri link. And didn't even explain how to use it. I said, here, click on this and tell me how you go and see if you like it. No one ever asked me how to use it. No one ever asked me any questions. They just dove in, typed in their home address and went, oh, wow, I can see all the power lines. This is awesome. It's such an easy product to use.
So how challenging is it for you to kind of communicate the message to the executive management, especially when you're seeing the stats and you're seeing the higher numbers, but you're actually having better results? So how do you mitigate and kind of manage that communication to management?
Oh, look, it is difficult, but the stats do speak volumes, right? And when we can show that we're doing a lot of work with these different industries, so when there is a major fatality or something like that, we're able to show that we're engaging with those industries as well. So it gives them the confidence that we are out there speaking to people, trying to promote the Look Up and Live app and the Before You Dig Australia app to keep people educated and to have a plan near our power lines, right? So for a lot of years, we're just using the Look Up and Live slogan, which just means nothing. Like it's just a slogan, right? It's like, okay, yeah, we all look up and live. But now it's more than that. It's an app. So we're able to, there's the theory, protection motivation theory that I use. It's basically a safety theory that's come out of the 70s, where to get someone to change their safety behavior, you need to instill fear. So that's where I show, power lines that are blowing up and tell people how dangerous it is. And then people need to have a feeling of self-worth while hearing that. They go, I don't want this to happen to me. I want to get home to my friends and family and my kids and my wife. But to enable a safety behavior change, you need to have something easy for them to do in that moment. And that's the Look Up and Live app. So they're able to download it. They're able to look at their next job site or future job site. And it's really easy to do. If you can get those three things aligned, you change safety behaviours, and people go home safe. So explaining that to our management that this is where we're moving towards really helps. And I must say, I've had a few of my executives tell me that they're talking to people in industry, and my name inevitably comes up. So I think when people are actually talking about what we're doing and what I'm doing in particular, that gives our executive a real you know a feeling that we're doing what we need to be doing in this space. So yeah.
So I had another question too about it, Cookie. It was dealing with government feedback from the utility. So when they're sharing their data, is it something that is getting promoted? Is it getting promoted from high up levels for people to be able to bring their data in and add to it and be able to contribute to this whole? I mean, I feel like you're building a whole environment here for all the different utilities to come into. Does that kind of make sense?
It does. So obviously, I do a lot of work Before You Dig Australia. So I've just recently joined, and I'm a director on the board of Before You Dig Australia. Mel Greenwell is the CEO of Before You Dig Australia, and she is building basically a data repository for all the damage in Australia.
Mhm.
So we had what we call a learning team um, about a year ago now in Melbourne, where we brought a lot of the electrical distributors in. And Before You Dig Australia has done several more with other industries such as gas and water. And they'll be doing the telcos again soon to talk about damage and what we should be doing in this space, and particularly reporting it and getting it into one sort of report so we can see how often damages are happening above and below ground. So
I really love what you're doing, Cookie. I feel like you guys have such a good product here. I feel like it's just not only personal, but personable. And that's kind of how you describe the map product itself. It just feels like the whole application speaks to people, connects to people, and connects people to each other with the messaging and the data and just everything that you built in.
absolutely, just having like the data and the stats and having it publicly available is what we're trying to get out there to show to people that this happens, so many times a day, and when you put all the underground and overhead data together, you're probably looking at 50 to 100 strikes a day in Australia alone. So, getting that data together in North America, it would just, I think it'd be mind blowing about how often it actually happens, right? So.
Mhm. I was gonna ask if is this getting utilized in other parts of the world? I know you're focused in the Australia area, but is it getting utilized? Are people implementing it? I know people from around the world have seen you speak at all sorts of different types of things. So do you have awareness for how it's getting utilized outside of Australia?
I'm only aware of one other company. So in Saskatchewan, I don't know if that's where you pronounce it properly, but in Saskatchewan in Canada, Sax Power, I assisted, or Thorsten and I assisted those guys to uh, basically copy the Look Up and Live app. So they use it over there, and I've just come back from Alberta in Canada. So Utility Safety Partners in Canada, and Mike Sullivan is the president over there, invited me over to come and talk at their 40th anniversary safety conference in February.
Mhm.
For a guy that's never seen snow, I've seen too much snow now. So I've never seen snow in my life in Australia. And far north Queensland, we don't see snow. But Mike was great enough to invite me over to his conference, and spoke to many different businesses over there, explaining the just the positives and the use of having a tool like this. So hopefully the learnings can be passed on. I must say it's just a little bit different when it comes to making the infrastructure public. I suppose there's a different perception in North America. Um, but as I said, when it comes to overhead assets, you can see it on Google. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? It just helps people plan. So it was similar here, just trying to convince businesses that they had to make their data public to make it a workable tool. You got
Mhm.
into it, but I mean, there's a way around it too. Is just you make people log in, and then you know what they're looking at, I suppose. But yeah, no, it's I have done a few talks here and there. I know Georgia Power were looking at it at some stage because I went over to, obviously, when I was in Georgia there in 2019. Also spoke to a lot of people in Tampa last year. So I went to Tampa in Florida at the Global Excavation Conference. So I spoke at that one. As yes, a lot of people listened and wanted lots more information. They take it back to their business, but to my knowledge, not a lot of people have actually taken it up, apart from Sax Power in Saskatchewan. So.
Well, I know in North America, it's mostly about operational security. That's kind of the big hang up about sharing data. It's all, revolves around that and having the information secure from an operations standpoint. So it's a great story though, and we love to get the message out for what you guys are doing. And at some point, if it becomes something that different people can and different areas can utilize, at least they have awareness about it and know about it. If they can tap in and try to figure out how to use it for themselves, it just seems like you guys have had such success with it in Australia, and it's helping
Look,
people for sure.
absolutely. And like you can download it in any part of the world. So if you want to have a look at the app, it's at lookupandlive.com, or go to the app stores and download it, have a look. Yeah, it's definitely working, and it's just helping people to come up with that adequate plan to put things in place to, change their safety behaviors. So.
And correct me if I'm wrong, didn't you tell me the other day when we were chatting that you've actually won an award for the app?
Yeah, we've won multiple awards for the application, for sure. It's actually helped myself win. I won a national award here in Australia, so I was the Australian Health and Safety Professional of the Year in 2020. As we all might remember, 2020 wasn't a great year for travel, so yeah, didn't get a free trip to Melbourne and a big awards ceremony or anything like that. So, but I'm really not in it for the awards, but it's certainly great to be recognised. And then in 2021, the app was recognised at the Australian Health and Safety Awards again. Yeah, we've won some awards in Queensland as well. So yeah, and it was great. It was great to be recognised internationally in Tampa as well. So the Global Excavation Safety Conference, I was named the Damage Prevention Hero of the Year for 2022, which was just an awesome honour. I certainly didn't expect it, being an Australian up against Americans and Canadians that would have such a large network of people that they speak to. I certainly didn't expect to be anywhere close to any of the nominees at the Global Excavation Safety Conference. So I really thanked everyone for voting for me for that. It was great. So.
Well, and it speaks to the product and the project and your enthusiasm and your passion for it too. I mean, you're known worldwide, Cookie. You have been, people have found you, people have seen you, people have heard you speak, and you just leave a lasting impression. I mean, it's just you just have such a passion and an energy for it. So I'm not surprised you won an international award here in Tampa at all.
Well, thanks for that, Melissa. I really do have a passion for it, and like I found something that I like to do. So there's not too many people who can say that they love their job, but I really do like my job, and my job is just so different. One day I'm doing a podcast. Next day I'm driving. Next day I'm driving for 1,000 kilometers, listening to music, and making phone calls to, being on planes and speaking at, conferences nationally and locally. So it's pretty cool.
Isn't it amazing when you get to do what you love and get paid for it? Like that's the best of both worlds, right?
True. The only drama is a lot of travel, and
yeah,
my family's starting to get a bit sick of it, and to be honest, so am I. But not everyone can come to me. Harvey Bay is a very beautiful place, right? And everyone should just come here, and I can just do all my talks here. That'd be nice. But I mean, we obviously have Zoom like we're on now, but unfortunately, I learned in COVID it just doesn't work. Like it's part of a package, I suppose, but you need to see people face to face to actually take that all in, because you can't be distracted or be doing your emails or texting people or you know what I mean. If you're actually an audience and it's face to face, people get it straight away. So yeah, I'll have to do more of it because I just can't continue to travel. But the face to face is where it's at. It absolutely works. Everything else is just a support mechanism for that. Down to social media posts and all that type of stuff. None of it works by itself. Apart from face to face, it works by itself every single time.
So where do you see the future go? What do you see for the future of Look Up and Live? I guess is what I'm trying to ask.
So the future of Look Up and Live is going to live with Before You Dig Australia. So we quickly realised, because it became a national product, we've got other distributors, powerline owners here in Australia going, how come we're giving all our data to Cookie at Energy Queensland? Shouldn't we be giving that to a non-for-profit damage prevention company like Before You Dig Australia? And I absolutely, in Energy Queensland, agreed. And we said, absolutely, you don't have to build your own product. You're now using Esri as their data provider. Why don't we just transfer it across? You can take up the governance and ownership of it, and start promoting above and below ground safety as a valued safety partner for the industry. So yeah, that's happening as we speak. It's a bit of a slow process because it's never really happened before, but we're getting there. We're hoping to have it done soon. But Before You Dig Australia, I foresee that they're going to do great things with the Look Up and Live app, and move it forward. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot more we can do with it. I think it's still pretty much a concept. There's a lot more we can add in there, such as building in alarms or more information. There's heaps we can do with it, but even as much as being able to hold your phone up with lidar now and seeing what voltage the power lines are, see how high the power lines are, where does the exclusion zone start and finish. Like, technology is just advancing so quickly. Before We Dig Australia hopefully has some funds to invest into it, whereas Energy Queensland didn't really have the appetite or the funds to do that, particularly when it was a national product. It just wasn't our product anymore. It's become a national product. So I think there's a lot of learnings there for the 811s and the one calls and out there as well to look at doing things from a national approach, which isn't easy. So because every state does things differently, right?
Well, and you led me to my next question, which was going to be, what do you need to be able to take it to the next level? What does the next level look like? And it sounds like there are lots of things that you could do that could be to really enhance it and enhance the functionality of it. And probably all of that goes to money, Cookie. All of it leads back to funding.
Absolutely. It does, right? And I've got so many ideas for it, and all the ideas that I've come up for are basically from, workers or businesses that are using the app, and they go, what would be really good, Cookie, is if I was able to take a photo of a pole and it instantly tells me how much it's going to cost to move it, or put it underground, for example. So having tools in there that can help people make a business decision on, what's the best way to go. For example, a crop calculator. So we have a lot of sugarcane in far north Queensland, or Queensland in particular. So be able to calculate how much all the cane underneath the power lines costs each year, for example. So cane's about $500 per acre. So, if they've got 2 acres under the power line, well, that's $1,000 per year. Well, if I don't plant there, I don't have to harvest there, but I'm only losing $1,000 per year. But to move the poles is going to cost $100,000. So I won't get that money back for 100 years. So it allows the farmer or the business operator actually make some sound business decisions while enhancing their worker safety. So, like I said, you need to give people information so they can make proper business decisions on what's best for safety, plus what's best for their business for making money, right? So that's sort of what I'm all about, is making sure people can make those proper business decisions as well. as well as safety decisions. So
This feels like a big deal, Cookie.
yeah, you
Yeah,
think?
it does. It feels like a big deal. Well, I mean, like you
Just trying
said,
to help.
it's business decisions too. Like you said, it's business decisions as well as safety. I mean, obviously we want people to be safe, go home to their families. You know, we don't want these fatalities to keep happening, but I mean, you're looking at business decisions as well associated with it. And so then that gets into money too. And businesses are here to make money, they want their workers safe, but that they're there for that as well. So there's far reaching impacts at multiple levels that people probably don't think about just at surface level. When they're considering the app and the impacts and everything.
Yeah. And the information around, just to be able to get to their staff as well as in a digital format as well.
Mhm.
So without having to print out sheets and reams of paper for people to look at, for example, you get a new starter. A lot of businesses now go, "Oh, have you got your phone? Yeah, download this free app, and I want you to read about power line safety and it's sort of put into different categories. So, for example, if they're on a construction site, they just click on construction, and then there's a whole page or multiple pages on construction safety and how to work safety around power lines, and all the laws and legislation here. So, yeah, it gives people opportunity to share it from inductions and training, and then know that there's this tool out there that helps them plan. So.
Well, I just love the geospatial tie-ins that you have here for people that might not have an awareness of it and wouldn't automatically know what GIS was or what the applications can do. You're really helping farmers be partners in this. In my opinion, that's what I'm seeing. They understand that they have a need for power, but their costs are always challenged, and that the cost associated with that is always a big deal. Instead of power companies being adversarial, you're now allowing them to really be a partner in development and business and the whole process, as far as I can see.
Absolutely. Like one great example of using the GIS to its advantage is, being able to drag your own um, data into the Look Up and Live app, right? So we've got that ad hoc data section on there. So, for example, I had a guy ring me up and they wanted to install some what we call rotor markers. So are red and white spinning markers on power lines, used to identify for aircraft, for construction and agricultural safety. This was an aircraft example. They had to mark 50 crossings along a gas pipeline that they had to basically fly every 2 to 3 weeks to make sure there's no gas leaks, because you basically can see the gas bubbling up from the ground. And he goes, "I need to know where all the power lines are." And I said, "Oh, you're sitting at your desk?" And he goes, "In front of your computer?" And he goes, "Yeah." I said, "Type in lookupandlive.com." He goes, "What?" I said, "I just type in lookupandlive.com." And then the Look Up and Live app pops up. And I said, "Have you got a KMZ or a KML or something of your pipeline?" And he goes, "Yeah." I said, "Drag it into this box." And then I said, "Now you can just follow your line and find all the crossings, and you'll find all the pole numbers, and you'll be able to tell us exactly where you want the markers." And he goes, "You just saved me 3 weeks' work, because I would have had to drive that line. It's 800 kilometers long, right?"
Mhm.
So he was able to do the whole job that he was planning to do in an hour in front of his computer, right? So, and I say the same thing to farmers and construction companies. For a road upgrade, for example, a highway upgrade that might be going for 15 kilometers, that construction company can drag their data into the Look Up and Live app, and they can see where their construction site starts and finishes and which lines are going to impact on that site. And if they do it early enough, they can talk to the power line owners to remove the power lines. Because what usually happens is they do the road upgrade and they work around the power lines for 2 years, and then at the end of the project, we come in and underground it.
Oh,
So,
wow. Okay. Mhm.
if they get to the power line company early enough, we could either reroute the power lines or we could put them underground, for example, and remove that hazard for the life of that construction site. So that's the beauty of this
Mhm.
app, and like you can use it at any stage. But what I really wanted it developed for was people that are tendering for work or designing work, to use it really early to talk to the power line companies to get things moved, or eliminate. You use the hierarchy control. If you're in safety, you'll understand this. Eliminate, engineer out. But with power lines, we just end up using administration controls all the time, and that's where we fall down because we don't have the appropriate people in place, like someone watching people operate, because they don't identify the power line, so they don't even put that person in place. So then we hit stuff. So, like I said, using the GIS capabilities of the app to your advantage to plan properly. If you do it at a very early level, you'll save people's lives. So for designers and engineers and people tendering for work, you can save people's lives if you do your job well. So that's where I push it as well. So, back to your question before, where are people asking me to go and talk? It's everywhere, from designers, engineers to, workers on the tools to, larger construction companies, aviation companies, just all industries that work near power lines. That's who I talk to.
So you're definitely on a mission to promote safety. So I mean that's a huge passion for you, obviously. You're a board member of Before You Dig Australia, correct?
Yes.
If I remember.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're a board member. So I feel like your connection and your tie-in with them has been super helpful for you to be able to, get the word out about the app. I know they're now, running, and have the app and everything. And so that connection with them has just been integral, I feel like, or it feels like to me, as far as being
Oh,
able to
absolutely.
get around and
Yeah.
get moving.
So, I mean, I've definitely been working with Before You Dig Australia and Dial Before You Dig, which was our name before, but basically it used to be state-based. So we had a lot of state-based Dial Before You Digs, and it's become a national non-for-profit now. So, and they call it Before You Dig Australia. So doing all that work and promoting each other's products, because for me, Before You Dig, I'm always out there promoting that product as well, obviously for underground. And then, Before You Dig is how I come up with the concept for Look Up and Live as well. It's like, well, we've got this tool for underground because you can't see it, but for overhead, people just don't have that planning tool. So the way I always say it to people, it's a Before You Dig, but it's for overhead. And then people go, oh, okay, I get it straight away. Right. So, but it's going to be integral because Before You Dig are taking on a lot of those safety messages for above and below ground. They're no longer just a business that does a transaction and gives a plan out. Right. So in the past, that's what it was. You rang or you do a request and you got a plan back. That's all Before You Dig was doing. Now Before You Dig is moving towards a trusted safety partner who does all that safety messaging, has best practice guides, all the information that you need to work around, gas lines, water, telcos, and electricity. All the information you need is coming from one trusted source, and they have people like myself that do awareness and engagement that go out and talk face to face and promote those messages for above and below ground nationally, right? So, we're a team. We're definitely a team.
So what is it about the safety messaging that drives you to be so proactive in this space? I know we talked about it a little bit the other day, but I loved your thoughts and your comments the other day. So,
well, I just want to pass on that messaging and mentor other people to do similar talks to what I've been doing. So, like I said, I've been doing this for 12 years, and I go back to my first presentation. I think, man, that must have been terrible, but I did get some good feedback. But like over the years, I've got it to a point where it all sort of flows in. So I want to make sure that I pass on that before I get to retire, or make sure that people are using the same lessons learned that I've got, and pass on that to other people, and empower other people in organizations similar to myself that are doing a very, very similar role. So we're all working together. It's been a great ride, and I've made some really good friends all over the country from it. I talk to the guys, at least weekly, if not daily, sometimes about incidents that are happening in their patch, and what my thoughts are on it, and the same the other way. Like, we're learning every day. So, and for instance, you got new machinery coming through. So all of a sudden you might have, for example, lighting towers. So we're doing a lot of construction work here 24 hours a day. So we have these portable lighting towers that can be just, towed around on a truck, and then they take it off and put the lighting tower up. It goes 15 meters. And if you put it in the wrong spot, you extend them straight up into a power line very easily if they haven't got a good plan. So we started seeing a bit of that happening in Sydney. And then, that information got passed on and by a mate of mine called Riley Bryn. And we, went, actually, we need to start talking about lighting towers in all our talks, and you see people's eyes light up, excuse the pun, but they light up and go, wow, yeah, we didn't even think about that. They do go high, don't they? It's great to have that network of people to bounce things off as well. So
I think that's awesome. So I'm going to shift gears with you a little bit. We're coming to the end, Cookie. You told me the other day you started learning the guitar and the ukulele during the pandemic, and now you have your own YouTube channel. Can you tell us about that? What has that been like?
Yeah, it's been a bit of fun. Yeah, the COVID hit, and all of a sudden I had a lot more time to spare because I wasn't traveling. So, yeah, I had learnt the guitar, just the basics when I was a bit younger, but sort of got into it since 2020. So my family was disappointed that they couldn't hear me play because I only usually played it like for family and friends at a barbecue or whatever. But sort of my mum really was the one that pushed me. She said, put it up on YouTube so I can watch it. And I'm like, oh, how do you do a YouTube channel, right? So I've got on YouTube and went, Googled it. How do I make a YouTube channel? It just took me straight to Google. What do you want to call your channel? Oh, I'll call it Ask Cookie. Oh, done. So if anyone wants to have a look, I've actually attached it to a web page now. It's called askcookie.com. But yeah, you can find all my music that I've recorded. I actually recorded a Billy Joel parody. So, I was having a beer with one of my mates, Jason Beasley, and he goes, "You go all right on that guitar, Cookie. You can sing all right too." He said, "You should do a Look Up and Live song, and we can use that to promote powerline safety." And I said, "Yeah, okay, I'll think about it." And then I'm like, "I'm no good at writing songs. I'm better at stealing someone else's, right? Because I just do cover songs. I've never written a song in my life." So Billy Joel's "They Didn't Start the Fire" popped up on the radio where we were sitting, and I said, "That's the one." I said, "That just sort of lists names." So what I did was list all the occupations of people that hit power lines, all the equipment that they're in that hit power lines, and the infrastructure that it hits. So I basically, listed all that down, and I've done it in that parody, and I called the parody "They Didn't See the Wire." So if you'd like to go and check out "They Didn't See the Wire," it's on my YouTube. If you want to just Google askcookie.com, you'll find it, and have a listen to that. It only goes for about a minute and a half, and I usually play that at the end of all my sessions now, just to lighten the mood a bit, because I do those powerline safety talks, and I get a bit deep and meaningful there every now and again, and having that light ending, I suppose. And I get a lot of comments at the end. Usually they go, "Cookie, we really like that song." I actually had one guy. It was a bit of a funny story. I was sort of packing up, and I had to drive about 6 hours to get back to my house on a Friday. And I'd finished packing up, and I went to go into the restroom and go before I had to go. And there's a guy in there, and he's using he's using the urinal, and he's whistling the song, whistling "They Didn't Start the Fire." And and I've said to him, "Yeah, it gets in your head, doesn't it?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'll be singing that all day." So I can't lay claim to the tune, but Billy Joel's an amazing artist, and that tune is it just sticks in your head. And I've had a lot of people comment, "Yeah, it's just it catches all right." And I've had a lot of people comment on, they still think about it, and they sort of pass it on, that song, via YouTube. Just go, "Hey, have a look at this. It's interesting." And a lot of people use it for their own toolbox talks and stuff like that. So it's nothing official from Look Up and Live or Before You Dig Australia. It's just something I did off my own bat, just to make things a little bit more fun. And yeah, I do enjoy playing the guitar and singing a bit. So yeah, it's cool.
And you do a good job. Like I tropped around on your YouTube page and everything and
Oh,
listened
did
to
you?
it. Yeah, absolutely. And you did a really
Oh,
good job. Like I enjoy listening to it. So
uh,
you do have you have very nice guitar and ukulele skills, and you have a nice singing voice. So like you need to keep that up. We need to be entertained out here, Cookie.
no worries. Well, I only picked the ukulele up uh, basically a month ago because my guitar, I must have been playing it too hard, but it was starting to creak and groan. So I had to get it fixed when I went to Canada. And when I came back, it wasn't fixed. So I borrowed my mate's ukulele because I always wanted to have a go. So
Mhm.
yeah, that was a very new. So if you've liked the ukulele ones,
They're
it's
very
fun.
cute.
It's really fun. It's really fun. Yeah, and I do enjoy it. It's just something I do to relax. Try and while I'm playing guitar and singing, I'm not really thinking about anything else, right? All the issues I've got going on, or where I've got to travel to next, and just gives me that opportunity not to think about anything but singing and playing the guitar. So it really is a stress reliever for me. So I'm glad I picked it up again, and um, I've got like 160 subscribers, mate. Hey,
Hey,
only another 800 or something. I could make a new career out of it.
absolutely. We need to get these people subscribing, right?
Yeah, that's right. Get out there.
So where did the nickname Cookie come from? Obviously, your last name's Cook. Did the guys on the crew give it to you, or have you had it longer?
Oh, I've had it for ever since I was at school. My father was known as Cookie as well, so
Okay.
yeah, just obviously last name. So
Mhm.
I especially use it because it breaks down barriers as well, right? So
Mhm.
using it on LinkedIn, for example, and even when I do my talks, I go, look, my name's Glen Cook, but everyone just calls me Cookie. So happy for you to do so. It instantly breaks down barriers for everybody.
Mhm.
And it doesn't really matter whether you're an executive or a senior level manager to a worker. Particularly in Australia, that's what we like. Everyone's got a nickname, right? So yeah. The only one that doesn't like my nickname is my wife. It's like when I first met her, she goes, "What's your name?" And I said, "Oh, it's Cookie." She goes, "Oh no, what's your real name?" she she's she's always called me Glenn. I'm
Mhm.
never Cookie to her. So yeah, it was a
That's
good one.
sweet. She wasn't playing around. She's not messing around with these
Oh
nicknames. She needs to
no,
know who she's getting involved with.
that was it. It's like yeah.
No, I'm with her. I'm with her on that. I need to know what level of nefariousness we're getting into here. I need to know who you are. I got to do a background check. We got to see about this.
Yeah, well, the background check must have come through. So we're still
It must
together
have. Yeah.
27 years later.
That's awesome.
Mm.
So, well, Cookie, we're at the end of the questions I had prepped. So I'm just going to ask you the last thing is, do you have any final thoughts that you want to share with us before we wrap up today?
Oh, look, I don't really think so, but I just appreciate you guys reaching out and remembering me from that conference all those years ago, and yeah, trying to help get the message out there. So I hope we get lots of listeners on this podcast, and yeah, spread the message. And I'd love to see Look Up and Live take off on North America, um, in North America one day, and yeah, if there's any conference organisers or businesses that want a good acclaimed keynote speaker for their conferences, I'm more than happy to come and assist. It's not about the money; it's about just getting there and doing the talks. So just reach out to me and we'll have a chat, see what we can organise. So.
Absolutely. So you guys heard it here. If there's anybody that has any interest in having Cookie come and speak at their events, you can track him down. Reach out to me if you need help with that. I'll be happy to do that. But Cookie, I just appreciate you coming on. I feel like we've had such a good conversation. I've loved the topics and the messaging. I think it's such an important area to think about and speak on. So I appreciate you coming on today. Thank you so much.
Thanks for yourself and Remy for reaching out. Appreciate it.
Mhm.
Thanks, Melissa.
For sure. Yeah, you left an impression on us. We haven't forgotten you. So you have friends all over the world, Cookie.
Oh, I do know that.
Mhm.
I have a lot of people reaching out on LinkedIn, to be honest, all the time. So I'm really glad that I sort of started that LinkedIn profile a few years ago because it really has, yeah, it's helped, network and generate a lot of interest in what I do. So, you know, a lot of safety and yeah, business professionals out there. It's a really good platform. It works well for me anyway. So.
Cookie is one of the most entertaining people that I have encountered. We met at a conference several years ago, and he's just kind of stuck with me ever since. His presentation, his energy, his character. He's so fun. If you have an opportunity to see Cookie, everybody needs to go see him. But you know, his messaging is just really important. He has a huge passion for it. He's really trying to ultimately save lives and, you know, have a positive impact for businesses in the area as well with the Look Up and Live app. And you know, the work that they've done, really being able to put that in the hands of people, you know, free to use, give them the accessibility and the information that they need to keep people and workers out of overhead power lines. It's just amazing. It's incredible to me. And so I've always been impressed by Cookie, and I really wanted to bring him on the podcast so that we could share that with everyone and, you know, get a little bit more exposure to the program, give people a little bit more, you know, of an idea about what the Look Up and Live application and program's about. And, you know, just get people thinking about what can they do in their own areas. If it's, you know, tie in and touch base with Cookie and see how to apply Look Up and Live in your area. If it's do something similar, you know, really get the gears turning for how do we prevent these overhead power line accidents. I think it's so amazing that Cookie's as passionate about it as he is, and that he's found a niche area, and, you know, he's in a really good place for it. I think, you know, I think he does really amazing work, and we get to highlight that. So, I don't know. I love chatting with Cookie today. I always love talking with Cookie. He's amazing. But getting to highlight the program and getting to learn more about his journey and, you know, where he came from. I didn't know he was an electrician to start with. And so that was super fun to find that out and talk with him about that too. So, I don't know. I really enjoyed this episode. I hope everybody who listens enjoys it as much as I enjoyed, capturing it with Cookie. And I just really appreciate him coming on, and everybody for listening. For an extra treat for the listeners, we also have Cookie's Look Up and Live song that he put together. It's a parody, based off of Billy Joel's We Didn't Start the Fire. And I just thought it was super fun. So we're going to roll out the end of the podcast, and we're going to go out listening to Cookie's song. So you guys tune in, check him out on YouTube, and, you know, just do all the safety things that we all know we're supposed to do. So, enjoy Cookie's song here.
Street lights, pop holes, pillar boxes, name them all. High voltage, low voltage, they them all. Tree loppers, carpenters, truck drivers, farmers, council workers, farm workers, name them all. Spray rigs, tip trucks, forklifts, tractors, high loads, graders, work platforms, bobcats, backhoes, excavators, digging holes, slashes, harvesters, garbage trucks. They didn't see the wire. It was always there, hanging in the air. They didn't see the wire, lurking underground, 'cause it wasn't found. Planes, drones, parachutes, don't hear your excuse. Scaffolding, irrigation, augers and cranes, guttering, roofing, cane, harvesting, dozers, ladders, drilling machines. Look up, look down, shoulda looked all around. Keep your life, help you up, make it home with your life. They didn't see the wire, it was always there, hanging in the air. They didn't see the wire, lurking underground, 'cause it wasn't found.
That wraps up today's episode. Please feel free to reach out with your comments, or if you have an interesting topic that you would like to hear, please let us know. Thanks again for your time, and tune in for our next podcast.